I cannot believe that butterfly flew in. Half the cat is waving. The butterfly flew in when I was making the iZenTzu iTalk video of the dimensions, the ghosts, the timeline ghosts, or the genetic line ghosts, and I'm talking about the bad ones, although some of them are sorrow, or the cat's waving. But usually sorrow and fear can turn into bad stuff too. So, and that type of butterfly, that was totally new to me. That kind of that sort of beige yellow with black markings. I've never seen that before, and it was so big, and it just came from nowhere. So there you are, and because the butterfly represents rebirth, life and death, the soul, the soul departing. Oh, now I've got straw there. Where did that straw come from? Well, see, even the straw is part of the story, floating on the waters of life, on the ocean of life, the rivers, the tributaries. Even in space, there is water in space. So, yeah, it was a particularly bad situation. And when I was talking about, not talking about the situation, but sharing with people this, because it's real, it's a reality. And I guess some of you out there go through this, and maybe some of you know and some don't. So, always have to find the best angle. Don't you have to find the best one, the best. Wow, look at that. So I could say it's a particularly bad situation, but no, the situation was so bad because of these goddamn ghosts. The timeline ghosts are the bad ghosts, the genetic ghosts, and they were, of course, they always become aware, because if someone has a very bad genetic line that has got darkness in there and a lot of mistakes, sorrow or fear, power mad, some of them are power mad, and then it travels from generation to generation until it's cleaned, and someone has to clean it. Now either you clean it yourself, and I had to clean out a lot of things, but the invisible beings showed me how, and I did it. From the timeline, the three-dimensional timeline I was born into, that was related to the Highlands, because they had to leave the Highlands and that was their home, and they were sent to be going to the America on the boats, and at the last minute the two families said, no, we can't leave, we're not going in that boat, which is really the boat of death. Who knows, maybe they would have died and that would be the end of it, because a lot of people did die on those boats. And they were shipped off like cattle or like sheep, and they escaped, and they said, no, we're not doing it, we're staying here. And they relocated themselves somehow and survived in a small coastal town, I guess on the Atlantic coast. And then they met, and then this family line was formed. So it is pure. We don't have a lot of bad stuff, and I guess that's why I incarnated into this one. So there's a lot of healing, there's a Celtic culture, and we can do stuff, and there's not those issues, although I did have to clear up a few issues to do with warriors and sorrow, a lot of sorrow, anger, things like this. And then it happens with people. Once you do that with yourself, it just happens on its own. With people, that you'll meet people, and then some strange spiritual, powerful, superior spiritual force will come, and it will use you to clean out the bad ghosts in the timeline. And it has to be cleaned out, because otherwise there's endless war, because then the people, the generations are then angry, they get angrier, they're fighting, etc. And the conflict is internal and it's directed outward. And then if you've got different groups meeting, they've all got this conflict, and then they all attack and kill each other, or just have endless arguments until the end of time. So it gets cleaned, and then that resolves things, but it comes from a superior force. It is highly spiritual beyond that word. It's so spiritual, you've no idea. And I had 2 of them, and they were really bad. I mean, that was an initiation, you know. That's like, okay, well, your whole life we've been doing this with you, now we're going to give you a really bad one. And I see how you deal with it. And it was, for me, like an initiation. And at one point I was scared, because they all got up and left, and they left me with it. Well, that's not the way it goes. It was in the portal area, in the crossroad of the dimension, and they had come, and these beings, tall beings of light, and they were just finishing off the timeline ghosts, so the bad genetic ghosts hidden in there, going from generation to generation, like bad electric signatures, or symbolic signatures within the genes. And they were cleaning out, and the 2 of them just got up, and these are not people that can move fast normally. I've never seen people move so fast. They stood up and walked, no word, no nothing, they ran out of the place. And I wasn't telling anyone it was happening. It was just, I knew, and so okay, here's another one. But I don't usually have to do 2 at the same time, 2 bad lines at the same time, and then they're really bad. And they walked off, and then of course it's left with me. Well, that doesn't usually happen, never. The invisible guides are so superior force. They always do everything right. That's never happened before. And I'm left with the whole thing, and I can see it all and feel it all, and the conflict, confusion, and the anger and the suffering. And go, my God! And I had to walk then. I had to walk it off, asking for protection. I said, please protect me, because that stuff can kill you. And how selfish. But of course they ran, because of course it doesn't want to end, right? It doesn't want to be clean. So they ran away, like as if they were part of the problem, you see. And then it's like, oh well, she won't clean it up. And yeah, I tell you, I cleaned it up. I cleaned it up. I didn't move. I didn't budge. It got done. It's ended. You know, the refinement is back. The energy has been harmonized. But man, okay, now I can laugh, and I'm going, okay, that was another major initiation, you know. Now I can laugh and say, yeah, okay, that one's been dealt with. But I'm sharing it with you, and I'll tell you why. Because not only do some of you go through that, and either you know or you don't. I know, so I'm fortunate. I would hate it to happen. I don't know. I'm going to know what's happening here. But it's going to get a lot more, because now comes the cleansing. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and share with you, and just give you some kind of information on this. Because also younger people, it's going to begin with, and maybe people can learn, understand, or just trust, connect with the spiritual force, and not be caught in that bad timeline of the ghosts. Okay.